It's not all plain sailing when cutting gemstones. Sometimes you run into unforeseen problems, and that's exactly what happened when I was cutting this gemstone. Hi there, Andrew Stewart here from stewartgems.com. Things don't always go to plan when gem cutting, and today was one of those days. I started off with this piece of morganite, and there's a couple of inclusions in it that I was aware of, but the piece of morganite is more than big enough to get the gemstone that I plan to cut and hopefully remove all of the inclusions. My plan here was to cut a 7mm heart-shaped gem, this being the second gemstone of a pair which will be part of a larger set of gemstones. So I'm working within some pretty tight tolerances. The gemstone has to be flawless. It also has to be exactly 7mm and be an exact colour match for the other morganite gemstone. So I start as I usually do by roughing in the outline of the gemstone. So far so good. With the rough morganite cut down to size, I set up to start faceting the pavilion of the gem. After cutting the first two facets, it's time to have a look and see how things are going. At this point I start to feel a bit more confident that this gemstone is going to work out. I'm going to get the size that I need to complete the set. Next I cut two more facets to create a meet point at the culet. So I stop again and take a look at how things are going. You can see here the two inclusions that I mentioned earlier. I'm still confident that these inclusions will cut out as we progress in the cutting process. Yes, nice work indeed. Things are looking good. But wait, what's this? Hold on, back up a second. Yep, indeed, that is a fracture in the gemstone, and I missed it, and now things have got a lot more complicated. But how could that have happened, I hear you ask? Well, here's a piece of morganite from the same parcel, and this little flash of colour is actually a fracture, which is causing the light to be dispersed in an effect called thin film interference. So you see these rainbow colours. That fracture in the morganite that I'm cutting, it wasn't obvious and couldn't be seen as it's very thin and was totally internal. Maybe it was there and I just missed it. Not all fractures will show a flash of colour like this. And very fine little cracks like this one that I'm dealing with are all too easy to miss. So I wasn't ready yet to abandon it as a bad job and start working on a new stone, so I continued cutting in the hopes that I would be able to get the gemstone that I needed to get from this piece of rough. I really couldn't see how deep that fracture went into the gemstone. All I could see what was on the surface, so I kept cutting and finished the pavilion of the stone and moved on to trimming down the stone to its final size. So as I did, the gem just kept getting smaller and smaller, and that fracture just went deeper and deeper into the stone. You can see the blue line here outlines just how deep that fracture ran down through the centre of the stone. The gemstone is now too small to be used for its intended purpose. However, there's still a chance that I'll get a smaller gemstone out of this piece of rough, so I press on. So I go back to working on the pavilion, cutting those facets down until all signs of that fracture are completely removed from the gemstone. As you can see here, there was quite a bit to remove, but there is enough material here to cut a smaller stone. With the inclusion dealt with, it's time to press on and try finish up this stone, and hopefully there'll be no more nasty surprises along the way. The pavilion is now finished, and as you can see, there's plenty of room to cut the crown. So on to polishing then, and then we'll transfer the gem and cut the crown. Here's a size comparison, the morganite on the left and the prasiolite on the right, which is the size I needed that morganite to be. Well, that's gem cutting for you. You win some, you lose some. Despite being able to get a decent looking gemstone from that morganite, it's so small that it really will never recover the cost of the rough that it was cut from. Next, I transferred the morganite to a new dopstick so that I could continue by cutting the crown of the gem. I decided to facet the crown in a step cut style. It's a little bit quicker to cut, a bit simpler, but it also makes it easier to retain a bit of weight in the gemstone. This will at least give me some small chance of getting my money back on the gemstone. But as for covering labour costs, well, there's not much chance of that on this one, but hey, as I say, you can't win them all. Hang around till the end of the video and see do you get why I found that particular statement so funny. Leave your answers in the comment as to why. In my next video I'll be faceting the remaining stones for that set that this morganite was supposed to be part of. So tune in next time if you want to see how things were supposed to go. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, maybe even learned a little something about gem cutting, and I hope to see you next time. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe and all of that good stuff. Hang around to the end to see how this gem turned out.